Everyone loves a great underdog story. It's the reason why so many of us watch the sport of boxing due to the Rocky franchise. Although as much as we love to watch a dominant knockout artist, such as Mike Tyson and Julian Jackson, there is always something so special about witnessing a fighter, despite all the odds being stacked against them, reach the pinnacle of the sport. But whom here has the best story of them all? Here today we'll take a look back at boxing's greatest ever underdogs. We're better to start with the modern day Rocky himself, Irish Mickey Ward. We have seen it a dozen times before, the blue collar contender whom dreams of becoming a world champion. Mickey Ward is no different. Through a long battle with personal issues, struggles and a dead-end job, Mickey Ward worked tirelessly to try and get his slice of boxing riches. From the impoverished town of Lowell, Massachusetts, Ward turned what many thought to be a gatekeeper career into a story that lives long into the memory. Following an unsuccessful challenge of the IBF light welterweight title, Ward with a record of 31-9 would go on a 3-fight win streak before he would capture the WBU world title from the previously unbeaten world champion Shane Neary.
Three professional fights that Shane Neary has been lights off Neary's glove. Ward lands a huge left hook and another uppercut. Goes to the body with the left hook. Lands the uppercut again. Neary down for the second time.
Before embarking on what is considered to be the greatest trilogy of fights in boxing history against a fighter whom he identified with, Arturo Gatti. The first time these two warriors would meet would be in a 2002 Ring Magazine Fight of the Year, in which Ward would have Gatti down in the 9th round before gaining a majority decision victory. Gatti and Ward would go on to have a further 2 fights in which Gatti would exact his revenge, but the true winner of this trilogy was Ward, who gained a career-high $3 million purse from the Gatti trilogy. Next up, regarded by many boxing historians and fans alike to be one of the greatest ever boxers, Manny Pacquiao finished his stellar career as the only 8-weight world champion in boxing history and the only man to conquer 4 of the original 8-weight divisions. Pac-Man's story would start on more humble beginnings when he was first introduced to the sport of boxing by his uncle, who was a boxer himself. Pacquiao chased his boxing dream when at the age of 14 he would move to the nation's capital, often living on the streets. Whilst he made the Philippine national boxing team, where he would end his amateur career with an impressive record of 60-4, Manny jumped into the pro ranks in 1995, standing only at 4'11" in height and weighing only 98 pounds. Pacquiao noted that he would often put stones in his pockets to make the 105-pound weight limit. After amassing a record of 24-1, Pac-Man would go on to capture the WBC flyweight world title before he would jump up 3 weight divisions to face the pound-for-pound ranked Leo Ledwaba for the IBF super bantamweight title. Pacquiao put on a stellar performance, which would be the catalyst for the Filipinos' meteoric rise to boxing stardom. Pacquiao would go on to topple a further 3 weight divisions, having legendary fights with some of boxing's greatest ever fighters in Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera and Juan Manuel Marquez, before he would face off in a career-defining fight against the 6-weight world champion in Oscar De La Hoya, where Manny would arrive on the world scene. Following the destructive performance of De La Hoya, the hype for a fight with Floyd Mayweather would erupt. Their paths would ultimately not cross at this time, so Manny would go down in weight to 140 pounds to fight the man of the division in Ricky Hatton. Pacquiao on this night would continue to add another illustrious highlight to his career with the 2009 knockout of the year. Manny would then go on to capture a further 2 world titles at welterweight and light middleweight by beating both Miguel Cotto and Antonio Margarito to become the first and only 8-weight world champion. The latter end of Manny's career would have its ups and downs, with losing controversial decisions to Tim Bradley before he would be beaten in the fight of the century against Floyd Mayweather. As previously shown in the career of Manny Pacquiao, he would always bounce back, and he would do just that by capturing the WBA welterweight title from the previously unbeaten Keith Thurman. This meant that the Pac-Man would go on to end his career by becoming the first boxer to hold world titles across 4 different decades. Around the same time of Manny conquering boxing's lower divisions, Kelly Pavlik would burst onto the scene up at middleweight when he would have 2 action-packed fights with Jermaine Taylor, who was fresh off dethroning long-time middleweight king Bernard Hopkins for the undisputed middleweight title. George Peterson Edison, the trainer of former welterweight champion Paul Williams, likened Pavlik to a robot, noting that he was extremely one-dimensional at face value. Of course, what he didn't tell you is that Pavlik's punching power, robotic style defeated some of the hardest hitting middleweights at the time in Edison Miranda and Jermaine Taylor, not once but twice. Pavlik would go on to hold the middleweight title for 3 years and was the man to beat up at 160. Although Hopkins and Martinez dressed him down in their victories, it doesn't erase the fact that Pavlik had an aura of invincibility at the time for a short period. When you have a guy with almost no punching power and no exposure to begin with, you'd think I'd be kidding if I said he'd be a world champion. Well, adding super quick hand speed and an excellent boxing talent, and you get the career of Paulie Malignaggi, who came into the spotlight early on in his career after absorbing a hellacious beating at the hands of Miguel Cotto. After the Cotto fight, Malignaggi would collect the IBF strap following a unanimous decision over the more than capable Lovemore Endu. The Magic Man would rack up a couple of title defences before facing off with the man of the division in Ricky Hatton, where he would be defeated via an 11th round stoppage. As shown many times before in the Brooklyn native's career, Paulie would always bounce back, and he did just that when he defeated former lightweight kingpin Juan Diaz in their rematch. Following a very controversial defeat, Paulie would taste defeat once again at the hands of Amir Khan in similar fashion as he did to Hatton. Following on from these setbacks, Paulie would have a career resurgence when he would do the unthinkable and go over to Ukraine to capture the WBA welterweight title. Following a tough night's work against Pablo Cesar Cano, Paulie would face off against the very highly controversial Floyd Mayweather prodigy Adrian Broner, where the two would not only create fireworks inside the ring but also outside the ring, with the two producing some of boxing's best comedic moments.
I'm good. I beat Paulie. I left with his belt and his girl.
Paulie would put on a more than valiant effort. Although the judges would hand the victory to Adrian Broner, Paulie would go on to fight for the welterweight title only once more before his career came to an end, but that would be in a destructive defeat at the hands of Sean Porter. No doubt about it, Ricardo Mayorga is the king of overachievers. Here we have someone who smokes, drinks, doesn't train properly for most of his fights, and is being called extremely amateurish in regards to his fighting style, and yet he has won titles in 2 weight classes. The tough and burly Mayorga burst onto the scene after he KO'd Fernand Forrest in just 3 rounds for the unified welterweight title. He defeated Forrest in an instant rematch before losing a controversial decision to Corey Spinks for the undisputed welterweight title. Mayorga perfected his heelish character by getting under the skin of his opponents to mixed results. After claiming the welterweight title, Mayorga would jump up to super welterweight to claim the vacant WBC title. Mayorga's trash talking has translated to fights with some of boxing's best in Felix Trinidad, Fernando Vargas, Shane Mosley, Oscar De La Hoya and Miguel Cotto over the years. Even at 38 years of age, Mayorga was in line for a big opportunity against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who had just claimed the WBC title. As crude and unpolished of a fighter as Mayorga was, despite his deficiencies, his ability to gain mega fight after mega fight against some of boxing's best makes him one of boxing's biggest and best overachievers. And if you liked today's video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and if you would like more content, check us out over on our second channel, The Fight Scene Talk, for all your latest boxing news.